The world we live in is familiar, illuminated by sunlight, guided by the rhythm of our daily lives, a space where everything has a known shape, a known sound, a known meaning. Yet, just beyond the edge of this comfort, there lies a shadowed frontier, a realm that has fascinated humans since the earliest dawn of consciousness. It is the realm of the afterlife, a place both feared and revered, whispered about in fireside stories, etched in a stone, and hidden within sacred texts. The ancient world, though long vanished, still hums with these mysteries, like echoes trapped in the fabric of time, waiting to be gently heard by those who are willing to listen. In this quiet journey, we will step softly into those shadows, not to shock or startle, but to wander through history's most chilling secrets with a calm, deliberate pace, like the slow turning of a page in a book meant for contemplation. Imagine, for a moment, standing before the tomb of a civilization that vanished millennia ago, the wind brushing against silent stones, the air thick with the weight of unspoken rituals. Each grave, each artifact, each fragment of text carries a story that hints at life beyond death, at a world both familiar and alien, a hopes and fears strikingly similar to our own. The allure of the afterlife has always been a delicate balance between comfort and terror. In one hand, there is the promise of reunion with lost loved ones, of a continuation of existence beyond the fleeting present. In the other, there lurks a shadow of the unknown, a fear of punishment, of wandering aimlessly, of confronting beings and trials beyond mortal comprehension. Ancient civilizations, from the deserts of Egypt to the mountains of Mesoamerica, navigated this tension with elaborate rituals, symbolic art, and complex cosmologies. In the quiet hush of night, their whispers can still be traced, a soft thread connecting past and present, drawing us gently toward questions we are both eager and hesitant to explore. We begin with the realization that the stories of the dead are more than just tales. They are mirrors reflecting the deepest fears and aspirations of the living. What does it mean to cross into the unknown? How did humans, long before the advent of modern religion or philosophy, imagine what happens after the final breath? Even in the simplest of burials, we find hints of this eternal curiosity, the careful placement of a body, the inclusion of tools or offerings, the markings that suggest a journey or a passage. It is here, in these small, deliberate acts, that we glimpse the tension between light and shadow, life and death, certainty and mystery. As we move gently through the annals of history, it becomes clear that the fascination with the afterlife is universal, transcending geography, culture, and time. Whether in the arid plains of Mesopotamia, where shadowy underworlds were feared yet meticulously described in cuneiform, or in the dense jungles of Central America, where intricate myths guided souls through treacherous realms, humanity has sought patterns, rules, and meaning in the unseen. Each civilization left behind clues, sometimes hidden, sometimes obvious, like lanterns flickering in the dark corridors of time, guiding us toward understanding, or at least toward the haunting beauty of their imagination. This story, then, is an invitation. It is an invitation not just to witness history, but to feel it, to sense the quiet fear and quiet wonder that shape the minds of those long gone. We will drift through tombs and temples, through whispered prayers and carved inscriptions, through rituals both grand and intimate, all with a gentle, unhurried rhythm. There is no rush, no sudden shocks, only the slow unfolding of secrets that have waited millennia for someone to listen. Tonight, as you settle into this story, allow yourself to step beyond the familiar, to wander along the shadowed pathways of history where light and dark meet. Let your mind trace the faint outlines of civilizations long gone. Let your imagination brush against their beliefs and fears, and let your heart, quietly and without urgency, open to the mysteries that lie beyond the final threshold of life. This is not a story of horror, but of wonder, a contemplation of the eternal questions that have captivated humanity since the dawn of awareness. We begin, then, with a single step into the unknown, a gentle descent into history's most chilling and fascinating secrets, guided by the calm light of curiosity, the soft whisper of wonder, and the quiet thrill of uncovering what lies beyond the veil. Long before the grand tombs of Egypt or the intricate myths of the Maya, humans confronted the mystery of death in ways both simple and profound. In the quiet shadow of prehistoric life, our ancestors began to notice the inevitability of mortality, and with it, a delicate curiosity. What happens when the body ceases to move, when the breath no longer rises, when the eyes close for the final time? Their responses were as varied as the landscapes they inhabited. Yet in every culture, one theme echoes: the desire to honor, to understand, and perhaps to ensure some continuation beyond the fleeting moments of life. The earliest burials offer glimpses into these nascent beliefs. In shallow graves across Europe, Asia, and Africa, archaeologists have discovered human remains carefully placed in fetal positions, often accompanied by simple tools, stone blades, or fragments of animal bones. These were not haphazard interments. Even in their simplicity, they suggest an awareness that death was not merely an end, but a passage. The positioning of the body, curled inward as though to protect it for the journey ahead, evokes an almost universal understanding. Life may end, but the essence, the spirit, deserves care and respect. As we trace the evolution of these early practices, the story becomes more complex. Burial mounds and cairns appear, marking the landscape with the presence of those who have gone before. Some graves are isolated, quiet markers in the wilderness, while others form intricate communal sites, suggesting that death was not only personal but a shared, collective concern. Alongside the physical evidence, we find the first hints of symbolic thinking. Ochre-stained bones, carved figurines, and mysterious geometric patterns etched into stone. These artifacts speak to a consciousness reaching toward the unseen, a mind striving to understand what cannot be touched or measured, a mind haunted by the question of what lies beyond the living world. In parts of Africa, Europe, and the Near East, archaeologists have uncovered cave burials with signs of ritualistic care, including the careful arrangement of bodies and the placement of offerings. These early humans seemed to sense that death was not a solitary event, but a transition into a world that mirrored the living yet remained hidden from it. The distinction between what was known, the life around them, and what was unknown, the realm of the dead, was both a source of anxiety and fascination. Within these shadowed spaces, the first stories of spirits, guardians, and unseen companions may have been whispered, laying the foundation for the rich mythologies that would follow in later civilizations. Across continents, one striking similarity emerges: the impulse to provide for the deceased. From simple flint knives to rudimentary jewelry, the objects placed with the dead were meant to accompany them, to serve them, or perhaps to comfort them. This instinct hints at a belief that the journey beyond the body required preparation, that death was not a single moment, but a passage, a continuation of existence in a realm that remained largely mysterious. The careful consideration of what to leave behind reflects both love and fear, hope and caution, a pattern repeated across time and space, subtly reminding us of our ancestors' quiet devotion to the unknown. Even more compelling are the traces of what might be called proto-religious thinking. In some prehistoric sites, burial pits appear to align with celestial events, solstices, equinoxes, or the paths of particular stars. These alignments suggest an early awareness of cycles and an attempt to connect earthly life with cosmic rhythms. Perhaps, in these gestures, our ancestors were trying to map the unknown, to give structure to what was beyond their understanding. They may have sensed that death was not random, that it was part of a larger, ordered cosmos, yet one still tinged with mystery. The juxtaposition of their fragile, human existence against the vast, indifferent universe likely fueled both awe and fear, creating the earliest tension between light and shadow, the known and the unknowable. The contrast between simplicity and imagination is especially striking. While the graves may appear modest by modern standards, the symbolic gestures they contain hint at elaborate beliefs. A simple arrangement of stones could serve as a protective barrier for the soul. A piece of red ochre might symbolize blood, life, or rebirth. Even without written words, these early humans created a narrative of death and what lay beyond, told not in stories, but in gestures, patterns, and objects that survive millennia to speak softly across the ages. Their ingenuity reveals a delicate dance with mortality, a gentle exploration of the shadowed realms that awaited them. These early practices also reveal the human need to connect the living and the dead. Grave goods, offerings, and symbolic markings suggest an ongoing relationship, a dialogue between the two worlds. The living honored the dead not only to ensure their comfort, but to maintain balance, to appease unseen forces, or to seek protection and guidance. It is a concept that resonates even today, echoing in ancestor veneration, memorial rituals, and quiet moments of remembrance. In this way, the prehistoric world was already laying the groundwork for the rich, complex afterlife visions of later civilizations. Yet, amid these echoes of reverence and ritual, there is a lingering tension, a shadow that refuses to be dispelled. For every grave prepared with care, there exists the silent question, what if it is not enough? What if the soul wanders, lost or restless? This subtle undercurrent of fear runs through the earliest human interactions with death, foreshadowing the chilling accounts, terrifying trials, and elaborate funerary customs that would emerge thousands of years later. The unknown beckons with both promise and peril, a duality that continues to captivate us, even in the quiet of modern reflection. In exploring these earliest encounters with mortality, we begin to see the pattern of human thought. Curiosity tempered by caution, imagination shadowed by fear, ritual blended with reverence. Each burial, each artifact, each trace of symbolic thought offers a glimpse into the minds of those who gazed into the darkness and sought to understand it. They remind us that even in simplicity, there is profundity, and even in the shadow of death, there is a delicate, enduring beauty. The story of the prehistoric afterlife is, in essence, the story of us all, a quiet contemplation of what it means to live, to die, and to wonder what lies beyond. As we drift gently from these early practices into the more elaborate beliefs of ancient civilizations, we carry with us the echoes of these first steps, the whispers of those who long ago sought to navigate the shadowed threshold between life and what waits beyond. Few civilizations have approached the mystery of the afterlife with as much precision, artistry, and quiet obsession as the ancient Egyptians. Their entire worldview seemed entwined with the belief that life did not end with death, but continued in a realm both wondrous and perilous. Every tomb, every pyramid, every carefully inscribed hieroglyph was a testament to this understanding, a map and a guide for the soul's journey beyond the final breath. Unlike the simpler burials of prehistoric times, Egyptian rituals reveal an intricate system designed to protect, prepare, and ensure the continuation of identity, blending beauty, symbolism, and a subtle chill of the unknown. The journey begins with the body itself. Mummification, a practice both sacred and precise, transformed the mortal vessel into an eternal shell. Through the careful removal of organs, the cleansing of the body, and the wrapping in countless layers of linen, the Egyptians sought to preserve the self in a form capable of navigating the afterlife. This process was more than preservation. It was preparation for trials that awaited beyond the tomb. Each gesture, each aromatic resin, each ceremonial chant was intended to safeguard the soul, reinforcing the delicate boundary between life and the shadowed world that lay beyond. In these rituals, the line between devotion and fear blurs, as the Egyptians confronted mortality with both reverence and meticulous calculation. Accompanying the body were the objects of life, tools, furniture, jewelry, and even food, small pieces of the world the deceased had known. These offerings were not mere luxury, but essential provisions for a soul expected to continue its journey, to live, to navigate, to survive in the afterlife. Tomb walls were often adorned with painted scenes depicting daily life, eternal gardens, and feasts, designed to remind the spirit of pleasures it could enjoy forever. Yet, beneath the serene depictions of abundance, there was always the unspoken tension of the unknown. The afterlife was not a guaranteed paradise. It was a complex landscape filled with dangers, judges, and spiritual challenges. Among the most haunting elements of Egyptian belief was the journey through the Duat, the shadowed underworld. Here, the soul faced gates and guardians, serpents and demons, obstacles designed to test courage, purity, and wisdom. The Book of the Dead, a collection of spells and incantations, served as a guide, offering protection and knowledge necessary to pass safely through this spectral domain. The imagery is both magnificent and unsettling: wings of divine creatures, rivers of fire, and weighing scales that measured the heart against the feather of Maat, the goddess of truth. The thought of a soul trembling before divine judgment, weighed in silence, evokes a chill even centuries later, a reminder of the fragility of mortal existence and the care required to prepare for eternity. This careful orchestration extended beyond the individual. Tombs, pyramids, and necropolises were built not only to honor the deceased, but to anchor them in the cosmic order, ensuring the stability of life itself. Pharaohs, in particular, were seen as intermediaries between gods and humans, and their afterlife preparation was vast, encompassing entire economies and generations of laborers. Yet even common citizens aspired to some measure of eternal existence, crafting simpler tombs, inscribing prayers, and burying goods alongside the body. This universality suggests a society profoundly aware of the shadowed unknown, one in which the afterlife was as real and present as the sun rising over the Nile. The interplay between light and shadow in Egyptian afterlife beliefs is remarkable. Sunlight, rebirth, and divine protection stand in quiet opposition to the fear of the Duat, of serpents, and of judgment. Tombs were often hidden or sealed, suggesting secrecy and caution, while hieroglyphs and images guided and reassured the soul. Death was not a single event, but a continuum, a transition carefully managed and eternally watched. The Egyptians understood, perhaps better than any other civilization, that the unknown is both mesmerizing and terrifying, a delicate balance that fuels awe, wonder, and the gentle, lingering chill of mystery. Even the architecture itself speaks of this tension. Pyramids rise as monumental beacons of order and permanence, yet their labyrinthine interiors, hidden chambers, and secret passages whisper of fear, protection, and the unseen. Tomb robbers of ancient times knew of these hidden horrors, and even today, the careful planning of these spaces evokes both admiration and unease. Within these walls, life, death, and the unknown merge, creating a narrative that is both deeply human and profoundly alien. What is particularly fascinating is the cultural insistence on continuity and identity. The preservation of the name, the body, and the memory was central. Statues, inscriptions, and amulets served as anchors for the spirit, ensuring that the essence of the individual could endure. The Egyptians believed that without these careful measures, the soul might drift, lost, and forgotten. This belief imbues their rituals with a quiet tension, the fear of losing one's place in eternity, countered by the beauty and meticulous care with which life was extended into the next world. In considering Egyptian afterlife practices, one cannot overlook the poetry and symbolism woven throughout. The iconography of gods like Osiris, Anubis, and Hathor conveys stories of death, judgment, and rebirth, blending reassurance with awe. The rituals are almost hypnotic in their rhythm, a careful cadence that mirrors the slow turning of the cosmos itself. As one imagines the priests chanting, the incense curling in golden sunlight, and the bodies swathed in linen. The entire culture seems to hold its breath between the known and the unknown, between the comforting warmth of life and the chilling mystery of what comes next. Ultimately, the Egyptian vision of the afterlife is both a marvel and a cautionary tale. It demonstrates humanity's desire to master the unknown, to map the unseen, and to protect what is most precious: the self, the soul, and the continuity of identity. Yet, it also reminds us that no matter the care taken, death remains a threshold, a delicate boundary where fear and hope coexist. The beauty and terror intertwine, creating a narrative that is hypnotic, immersive, and quietly unsettling. A narrative that has captivated the imagination for millennia and continues to whisper across the sands of time. As we leave the gilded tombs and secretive pyramids behind, we carry forward the echoes of these ancient beliefs: the careful preparation, the intricate symbolism, the delicate balance of light and shadow. The Egyptians offer us not only insight into their civilization, but a mirror reflecting our own curiosity and fear of the unknown. Their afterlife was a journey, meticulous and precise, yet still fraught with uncertainty. In this tension between preparation and unpredictability, we find the enduring allure of history's most chilling secrets, a quiet reminder that the unknown has always been a companion to human imagination. Beyond the golden sands of Egypt and the monumental precision of its tombs lies another world of afterlife belief, one darker, quieter, and steeped in the weight of inevitability. Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers, offers a vision of death that contrasts sharply with the splendor and order of the Nile. Here, life was fragile, the soil fertile yet unpredictable, the rivers both nurturing and threatening. It is perhaps no surprise that their imagination of the afterlife was somber, a shadowed underworld where all souls, regardless of wealth or power, faced the same uncertain fate. The Mesopotamians imagined death as a descent into a gloomy, subterranean realm, a world of half-light and silence, where shades lingered in eternal obscurity. Unlike the Egyptians, who carefully guided the soul through trials and rewards, the Mesopotamian afterlife was egalitarian in its gloom. Rich or poor, mighty or humble, all were believed to join the same dreary existence, their spirits lingering in dust and shadow. This vision is haunting in its simplicity. The inevitability of death was absolute, and the afterlife was a place of quiet endurance rather than triumph or bliss. Burial practices in early Sumer and Akkad reflect this somber worldview. Graves were often simple pits, sometimes accompanied by modest offerings, a few personal belongings, a piece of pottery, or a small tool. There was little expectation of grandeur. Instead, these items were practical gestures, perhaps intended to ease the spirit's existence in the shadowed underworld. Unlike the elaborate Egyptian tombs that celebrated continuity and identity, Mesopotamian graves emphasized the transient nature of life and the inescapable weight of mortality. The quiet austerity of these burials speaks volumes, offering insight into a civilization that faced death not with elaborate preparation, but with solemn acknowledgement. The underworld itself, often called Kur, was imagined as a dim, misty place beneath the earth, ruled by the goddess Ereshkigal. This was no place of reward or punishment. It was a place of endurance. The living occasionally feared the dead returning, wandering spirits seeking sustenance, and rituals were designed to appease and honor them. Funerary texts and hymns hint at offerings of food and libations, not for glory, but to ensure that the spirits did not become restless. There's a quiet tension here, a delicate balance between respect and fear, illustrating a society deeply aware of the invisible world, yet accepting its inescapable rules. Cuneiform tablets, inscribed with prayers and lamentations, give voice to the emotions of the living as they confronted death. The words are stark, sometimes sorrowful, sometimes pleading, reflecting the human desire to influence a fate that was otherwise immutable. These texts whisper across time, revealing a civilization both practical and poetic, aware that life is fleeting and that the dead inhabit a realm removed from the comforts of the living. The combination of ritual, text, and symbolic offering creates a haunting portrait of a society wrestling with mortality, framing the unknown not as a place of fearsome punishment, but as a shadowed, inevitable continuum. The Mesopotamian underworld also carried subtle layers of mystery and danger. Rivers of no return, gates guarded by deities, and labyrinthine tunnels hint at the peril inherent in crossing from life to death. Though the underworld was not as vividly embellished as the Egyptian Duat, it was no less captivating. The quiet menace, the sense of uncertainty, creates a tension that is felt even centuries later, a low hum of curiosity and unease. It is a world where light is scarce, yet imagination fills the darkness, shaping the beliefs and rituals of countless generations. In contrast to the Egyptian emphasis on individual triumph, Mesopotamian beliefs emphasize collective fate and cosmic order. Life above the rivers was precarious, threatened by floods, famine, and conquest, and the underworld mirrored this uncertainty. Here, death was universal, impartial, and inescapable, a stark reminder of human fragility. Yet within this starkness, there is beauty, a quiet acceptance, a poetic meditation on mortality that invites reflection rather than spectacle. By contemplating the Mesopotamian vision of the afterlife, we glimpse a civilization intimately aware of life's impermanence, its rituals serving as both acknowledgement and comfort. The interplay of known and unknown is particularly powerful in Mesopotamian thought. Life is fleeting, tangible, and immediate. The afterlife is distant, uncertain, and shadowed. This contrast evokes a subtle chill, a lingering curiosity about the fate that awaits every living being. Inscriptions, offerings, and myths serve as bridges across this divide, connecting the living to the dead, allowing a small measure of influence, remembrance, and continuity, even in the face of a seemingly indifferent universe. The Mesopotamians did not promise paradise, nor did they insist on elaborate rewards. Instead, they offered ritual, acknowledgement, and a quiet negotiation with forces beyond mortal comprehension. Perhaps the most striking aspect of Mesopotamian afterlife beliefs is their universality. Across city-states, kingdoms, and centuries, the same vision of core, of descent into shadow and dust persisted. It is a testament to the human need to understand mortality, to frame life within the inevitability of death, and to seek patterns in the unknown. Their underworld may seem bleak to modern eyes, yet it carries a subtle beauty, a recognition of life's brevity, a careful dance with the unseen, and a poetic contemplation of what endures when the body returns to the earth. As we step back from the shadowed halls of Mesopotamia, a quiet realization emerges. The Egyptians confronted the afterlife with preparation, guardians, and hope of reward. The Mesopotamians accepted it as an immutable fate, shadowed and egalitarian. Both perspectives illuminate the human imagination, the delicate interplay between fear and reverence, between what is known and what is unknowable. In their contrasts, we see a deeper truth. Across civilizations, across time, humans have sought to understand death, to honor it, and to glimpse the hidden world beyond. The Mesopotamian underworld, with its quiet shadows and subtle perils, leaves us with a lingering sense of curiosity and reflection. It is a place where life's fleeting light meets the eternal darkness, where ritual and reverence act as gentle guides through an uncertain realm. By exploring this vision, we prepare ourselves to journey onward into other civilizations' interpretations of death, to witness the rich tapestry of human imagination and fear, and to contemplate once more the delicate boundary that separates the known from the unknown. Death, in every culture we have explored so far, is not a finality, but a threshold, a passage from one state of existence to another. It is a quiet doorway, sometimes illuminated by hope, sometimes shadowed with fear, and always framed by the human desire to understand what lies beyond. As we move from the ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia to the intricate beliefs of Asia and the Americas, it is worth pausing to consider this subtle, universal thread, the notion that life continues in some form, even when the body ceases to breathe. It is in this liminal space, between what we know and what we can only imagine, that the most profound stories of humanity emerge. For our ancestors, death was a journey rather than an endpoint. The careful preparation of bodies in Egypt, the ritualistic burials in prehistoric lands, and the shadowed underworld of Mesopotamia all speak to a common understanding that the living and the dead exist in parallel, overlapping worlds. Life itself was fragile, and mortality was immediate, yet the imagination of what comes next was expansive. Humans sought to map the unseen, to create rituals and symbols that would guide the spirit safely through its unknown path. In this way, death became a mirror for life, reflecting fears, hopes, and the desire for continuity beyond the ephemeral. This bridge, this quiet moment of reflection, allows us to meditate on the patterns we see across cultures. Thresholds, gates, rivers, and guardians are recurring motifs, subtle markers that indicate a universal human curiosity. The living sought ways to influence the journey, to provide guidance or protection for the soul, to maintain a connection between worlds. Even when the afterlife was feared or imagined as dark and unwelcoming, as in Mesopotamia, these rituals offered a measure of solace, a way to negotiate with the unknown and assert a small degree of control over the inevitable. Symbolism becomes the language of passage. A carved stone, a placement of offerings, or the direction of a grave conveys intentions and beliefs about what comes next. These gestures are small, almost imperceptible, yet they carry enormous weight, a delicate conversation across time and space. In contemplating these early expressions of faith and fear, we glimpse not only the civilizations themselves, but the enduring human impulse to reach beyond the tangible world. It is a gentle tension, the push and pull between certainty and mystery, that keeps the imagination alive and creates the quiet fascination we feel even today. As we cross from Mesopotamia into the traditions of China and the Americas, the concept of death as passage rather than end becomes more intricate, layered with philosophy, mythology, and ritual. The stories may be different, the guardians may change, the rivers may flow in opposite directions, but the underlying desire remains the same: to understand, to honor, and to navigate the shadowed realms that lie beyond life. This reflection allows us to move smoothly into the next phase of exploration, carrying forward the echoes of what has been seen and felt, preparing to encounter new visions of the afterlife shaped by diverse landscapes and spiritual philosophies. The pause here is deliberate. It is an invitation to breathe, to feel the quiet tension between what we know and what we cannot, and to recognize that death, as unsettling as it may seem, has always been intertwined with the human imagination. Each culture we explore adds another layer of depth, another perspective on how souls journey, how spirits are guided, and how the living remember and honor them. In this gentle contemplation, we sense the subtle beauty in mortality, the poetic resonance of thresholds, and the enduring human pursuit to illuminate what lies just beyond the veil. In this quiet liminality, we find the bridge that connects past civilizations to those yet to come in our story. The lessons of preparation, ritual, and reverence are not confined to any one time or place. They ripple across continents and centuries. Death as passage reminds us that while the journey is universal, the interpretations are endlessly varied, each culture adding its own rhythm, imagery, and wisdom to the collective understanding of what it means to move from the known into the unknown. As we shift our gaze eastward, the vast landscapes of ancient China unfold, revealing a civilization whose beliefs about the afterlife are as intricate as the rivers that wind through its valleys and as enduring as the mountains that watch silently over its plains. In this world, life and death are not separate, but intertwined, each flowing into the other like water, tracing the contours of the earth. The Chinese vision of the afterlife is a delicate blend of reverence, fear, and ritual, a system designed to honor ancestors while guiding spirits safely through realms both familiar and mysterious. Here, the living and the dead exist in a continuing conversation, mediated by ceremonies, offerings, and carefully preserved traditions that bridge the seen and the unseen. One of the most striking aspects of ancient Chinese afterlife practices is the importance of ancestor worship. To the living, the spirits of forebears were ever present, influencing fortune, prosperity, and harmony. Tombs were built with careful attention, not merely to house the deceased, but to provide a point of contact between the worlds. Families made offerings of food, drink, and symbolic items, a gesture both of respect and of practical support, ensuring that the departed would continue to guide and protect them. The living, in turn, derived comfort from maintaining this sacred connection, a reassurance that death was not a disappearance, but a transformation, a journey into a parallel existence that remained intertwined with the daily life of those left behind. The meticulous preparation for death extended even further in the elaborate burial customs of certain periods, most famously seen in the Han Dynasty. Jade burial suits, constructed from hundreds or thousands of jade plaques sewn together with gold or silver thread, were believed to preserve the body and protect the soul. These suits represent a profound intersection of craftsmanship, spirituality, and fear. Fear of decay, fear of wandering, fear of being lost in the shadowed realm beyond. Each plaque, carefully shaped and inscribed, is both a shield and a guide, ensuring that the individual could endure the journey into the afterlife. The effort and resources devoted to such practices highlight the depth of human concern for the unknown, a concern that resonates across cultures and eras. The journey of the soul in Chinese belief is often envisioned as complex and fraught with obstacles. Spirits were thought to navigate through multiple realms, guided by divine beings, judges, and sometimes ancestors themselves. The underworld was a place where moral conduct was weighed, and the deeds of life influenced the soul's treatment beyond death. Temples, inscriptions, and ritual objects acted as maps and protections, allowing spirits to move safely while offering the living a sense of control over forces beyond their comprehension. The balance between fear and hope, between reverence and ritual, permeates these practices, creating a worldview that is both deeply spiritual and quietly unsettling. Symbolism is central to Chinese afterlife thought. Dragons, phoenixes, and other mythical creatures are not merely decorative but serve as guides, protectors, or markers of spiritual passage. Rivers and mountains and burial landscapes are carefully chosen, reflecting an understanding of energy flows, cosmic alignment, and harmony with the natural world. Even the placement of graves and tombs is imbued with intention, drawing on concepts later formalized in feng shui to ensure peace, continuity, and prosperity. The meticulous attention to detail reveals a civilization profoundly attuned to the delicate interplay between life, death, and the forces that govern the universe. Mourning and ritual also play a significant role in mediating the boundary between life and death. Funerals were not merely a farewell, but a process of guiding the spirit, clarifying its place in the ancestral continuum, and maintaining balance within the family and community. Laments, offerings, and ceremonial acts serve as both emotional expression and spiritual necessity. These practices remind the living of mortality while providing reassurance that the soul's journey is both meaningful and navigable. Even in their complexity, the rituals convey a gentle cadence, a rhythm of continuity that comforts the living while respecting the mysteries of the beyond. At the same time, there are darker undercurrents within these beliefs, reflecting the anxieties of a culture deeply aware of mortality. Tales of wandering spirits, malevolent ghosts, and restless ancestors suggest that improper rites or neglect could lead to imbalance and misfortune. This duality between protection and peril, devotion and danger, creates a tension that is both haunting and compelling. The living were entrusted with the responsibility of care, the knowledge that their actions could influence the fate of the departed, a subtle yet profound acknowledgement of interdependence across life and death. The poetic resonance of these practices is striking. The imagined landscapes of the afterlife, mystical rivers, ornate palaces, and shadowed paths, reflect human imagination at its most contemplative, a meditation on mortality imbued with both hope and fear. Inscriptions, tomb decorations, and ritual objects transform practical preparation into a narrative of spiritual continuity, a story that unfolds slowly, deliberately, like the winding course of a river through time. The calm yet eerie beauty of these beliefs invites reflection, offering a quiet fascination suitable for meditation and introspection. One cannot overlook the social and philosophical implications of these practices. Ancestor veneration not only structured spiritual beliefs, but reinforced societal cohesion, connecting generations through ritual, memory, and moral responsibility. The afterlife was not only a private journey, but a collective framework, linking families, communities, and the cosmos in an enduring web of interrelations. In this way, death and remembrance became a lens through which the living understood themselves, their place in history, and the patterns of existence that transcend individual lifetimes. The combination of ritual, art, and philosophy in ancient Chinese afterlife belief reflects a civilization deeply conscious of the unknown yet determined to engage with it. It balances reverence with ritual, beauty with foreboding, continuity with transformation. Life is fleeting, yet death is carefully mapped, framed by a language of symbols, ceremony, and cosmic order. The result is an afterlife vision that is at once elaborate and meditative, mysterious yet accessible, a delicate interplay of fear, hope, and imagination. As we leave the mountains, rivers, and tombs of ancient China behind, we carry forward the lessons of their vision. Death as passage, the enduring presence of ancestors, and the careful balance between light and shadow. These beliefs prepare us to journey next to the rich, vivid, and sometimes chilling afterlife traditions of the Americas, where civilizations like the Maya and Aztec imagined worlds of trials, spirits, and cosmic journeys. The whispers of the East linger softly in our minds, a gentle reminder of the universality of human curiosity and the quiet beauty that emerges when we seek to understand what lies beyond the veil. As we leave the mountains and rivers of ancient China behind, a quiet reflection emerges, one that flows like water through time, connecting distant civilizations through subtle threads of belief. Across continents, humans have grappled with the same fundamental questions. What becomes of the soul? Where does it go? And how can the living maintain connection with those who have passed? In this transitional moment, we pause to consider these patterns, to trace the delicate lines that run from one culture to another, and to recognize the universality of human imagination in facing the unknown. This pause is not mere interlude. It is a bridge, a contemplative space where reflection becomes as important as discovery, and where the mind can wander gently along rivers of memory, guided by the echoes of ritual and myth. One of the most striking recurring motifs is that of the river, a liminal space that exists both in the physical and spiritual realms. Rivers often mark the threshold between life and death, the boundary between the known world and the mysterious beyond. In China, rivers guided spirits through realms overseen by divine guardians. In Mesopotamia, rivers delineated paths into shadowed underworlds. Across the globe, from Europe to the Americas, water is both metaphor and instrument, a symbol of transition, movement, and the passage of the soul. By contemplating these shared symbols, we glimpse the universal human need to map the unseen, to provide markers and guidance for journeys that cannot be directly observed. Another theme that quietly threads through cultures is the presence of guides or intermediaries. Whether ancestral spirits in China, serpents and guardians in Mesopotamia, or priests and ritual specialists in prehistoric societies, these figures serve as bridges themselves, linking the living to the dead and the known to the unknown. Their presence is both comforting and chilling. Comforting because they offer guidance, structure, and protection. Chilling because they remind us that the afterlife is a realm of uncertainty, one in which the unprepared or the neglectful might become lost. In these intermediaries, we see humanity's ongoing negotiation with mortality, a careful balance of reverence, fear, and imagination. The bridge we walk now also invites contemplation of time itself. Death, as perceived by ancient peoples, was cyclical rather than linear. Life and death, the living and the dead, existed in a continuous interplay, much like rivers flowing endlessly to the sea. Ancestors were not absent but present, guiding and influencing, requiring acknowledgement through ritual, offerings, and remembrance. Across Asia, the Americas, and Europe, we see a shared recognition that the dead are woven into the fabric of the living world, shaping fortune, morality, and cosmic balance. This reflection allows us to move between civilizations smoothly, connecting disparate practices through the invisible currents of shared human consciousness. Yet within these shared themes lies diversity and depth. The rivers, guides, and thresholds are depicted differently in each culture, reflecting unique landscapes, cosmologies, and philosophies. In China, the focus is on harmony, moral conduct, and ancestral connection. In Mesoamerica, the afterlife is often vivid, dangerous, and filled with trials for the soul. Each variation enriches our understanding, revealing that while the questions of death are universal, the answers are shaped by environment, history, and imagination. By dwelling in this liminal space, we can appreciate both the commonality of human curiosity and the richness of cultural expression. This transitional reflection also emphasizes the delicate tension between light and shadow, hope and fear, known and unknown. Across civilizations, the living sought to illuminate the path for the dead, yet always acknowledged the presence of uncertainty. Graves, offerings, texts, and ritual objects all serve as markers, subtle beacons guiding souls while reminding the living of life's fragility. In contemplating these gestures, we are invited to linger in quiet awe, to let our minds trace the invisible pathways that connect us across time and space. This is the beauty of the bridge. It allows the imagination to wander gently, to absorb the lessons of the past, and to prepare for the next journey into cultures where the afterlife takes on even more vivid and complex forms. As we turn our attention now to the civilizations of Mesoamerica, the Mayan and Aztec worlds await, lands rich with myth, danger, and elaborate visions of the soul's journey beyond death. The rivers, thresholds, and ancestral echoes of the East remain with us, faintly guiding the narrative, while the imagination anticipates new forms of afterlife belief, trials, underworlds, and cosmic challenges that expand the landscape of the unknown. This bridge, flowing quietly and without hurry, allows us to carry forward both reflection and curiosity, ensuring that the story unfolds in a rhythm that is calm, meditative, and immersive, ready to encounter the vivid mysteries of a world across the ocean. Crossing from the mountains and rivers of Asia to the dense jungles and highlands of Mesoamerica, we enter a world where the afterlife is not only inevitable, but vividly, almost tangibly, imagined. Here, civilizations like the Maya and Aztec conceived of the soul's journey as an epic voyage through realms both beautiful and terrifying, a landscape where spirits faced trials, encountered gods, and navigated forces far beyond human comprehension. Unlike the serene and harmonious vision of ancient China or the shadowed egalitarian underworld of Mesopotamia, Mesoamerican afterlife beliefs pulse with drama and intensity, weaving together fear, devotion, and the promise of continuity in ways that are both hypnotic and chilling. The Mayan underworld, Xibalba, emerges as a complex, multi-layered realm, where the souls of the dead must confront a series of trials. Governed by powerful deities who presided over death, disease, and misfortune, Xibalba was imagined as a place of darkness, rivers of blood, and treacherous obstacles. The journey through it was not linear. The soul had to navigate cleverly, heed the guidance of ancestors, and sometimes rely on offerings from the living to survive. Tombs were filled with objects meant to aid this passage: jade figurines, obsidian blades, and intricately carved pottery, each chosen to provide protection, sustenance, or magical assistance. Even the smallest artifact carries a story, a whispered instruction for the soul moving through realms where peril is constant and the unknown is absolute. Human sacrifice, though terrifying to modern sensibilities, played a central role in this intricate cosmology. To the Aztec civilization, life and death were inextricably linked, with the continued survival of the world dependent on the careful balancing of cosmic forces. Offerings of blood, ritual objects, and ceremonial acts were designed to nourish the gods and maintain the equilibrium of life and death. The chilling precision of these rituals, combined with their profound symbolism, reflects a civilization acutely aware of mortality and the fragility of existence. In this framework, the afterlife is not passive. It is an active, perilous journey where each soul's passage affects not only itself, but the broader cosmos. The Aztec conception of the afterlife is richly stratified. Souls might descend to Mictlan, the land of the dead, where they endured a 4-year journey fraught with obstacles, or depending on the circumstances of death, such as dying in battle, childbirth, or sacrifice, ascend to higher realms associated with the sun, wind, or water. This distinction highlights a worldview in which morality, circumstance, and cosmic alignment intersect to determine destiny. Life and death were entwined in an intricate dance, where courage, virtue, and ritual preparation could influence outcomes in the shadowed realms beyond the living. The vividness of these beliefs, with their layered underworlds and distinct paths, creates an immersive, almost cinematic vision of the soul's journey, filled with both awe and subtle dread. Mayan and Aztec tombs themselves reflect this worldview. Burials were often elaborate, designed to replicate aspects of the underworld or the cosmos, aligning the deceased with sacred geography and celestial movements. The positioning of bodies, placement of grave goods, and inclusion of symbolic objects created a microcosm of the spiritual universe within the tomb, ensuring the soul had a map and tools to navigate the afterlife. In some cases, tombs were sealed with inscriptions or carvings that provided instructions or warnings, bridging the gap between life and death. Even the jungle itself, dense, mysterious, and teeming with hidden life, becomes a living symbol of the journey, both nurturing and perilous, echoing the duality of life and death central to Mesoamerican thought. The interplay of beauty and terror is a hallmark of Mesoamerican afterlife belief. Ceremonial masks, jade ornaments, and carved stele depict gods and spirits with features both awe-inspiring and unsettling, capturing the delicate tension between reverence and fear. Rituals were designed to honor the dead, empower the living, and ensure cosmic balance. Yet each act carried a reminder of mortality's inevitability. In this way, the afterlife is not distant or abstract. It is immediate, tangible, and interwoven with every aspect of daily existence. Life above ground and the journey below are mirrors of one another, each reflecting the other's power, fragility, and mystery. These civilizations also understood the social dimension of death. An individual's journey through the afterlife was not isolated. It affected the community and the cosmic order. Ancestors continued to play a role, guiding and influencing, while the living upheld traditions that ensured balance. The act of remembrance, ritual offerings, and ceremonial participation created a shared understanding of mortality, weaving the collective into the fabric of spiritual continuity. In this way, the Mesoamerican vision of the afterlife is simultaneously personal, communal, and cosmic, a web of connection that spans life, death, and eternity. Yet within the vivid imagery and ritual precision lies an underlying current of unpredictability. No amount of preparation could guarantee safety in the underworld. The journey was fraught with challenges, and the outcome was never entirely certain. This element of danger infuses the mythology with tension and drama, creating a subtle unease that lingers even centuries later. The interplay of control and uncertainty, preparation and peril, reflects a sophisticated understanding of the human condition, acknowledging that life is fleeting, mortality is inevitable, and the afterlife is a realm of both opportunity and risk. In contemplating these journeys through Xibalba and Mictlan, we are drawn into the imagination of civilizations that viewed life and death as inextricably linked. We sense the rhythms of ritual, the precision of tomb construction, and the haunting beauty of mythological narrative. The soul's passage is at once terrifying and mesmerizing, filled with obstacles that test courage, tools that provide protection, and guidance that sustains hope. This delicate interplay of fear, preparation, and awe mirrors humanity's ongoing fascination with what lies beyond the veil of mortality, a fascination that spans continents and centuries. As we prepare to leave the dense jungles and intricate tombs of Mesoamerica, we carry forward an understanding of death as both journey and trial, of the afterlife as a dynamic landscape shaped by ritual, courage, and imagination. These beliefs, vivid and haunting, set the stage for our next exploration, the diverse and heroic visions of the afterlife in Europe, where Norse and Celtic realms await, offering contrasting ideas of valor, reward, and shadowed mystery. The echoes of the Americas, like distant rivers and whispered warnings, continue to guide us, linking curiosity, fear, and reverence across the vast tapestry of human belief. As we leave the dense jungles of Mesoamerica behind, a quiet moment of reflection emerges, allowing us to trace the invisible threads that connect civilizations across oceans and centuries. From the tombs of Egypt to the shadowed underworlds of Mesopotamia, the mountains and rivers of China, and the vibrant, perilous realms of the Maya and Aztec, one theme remains constant: humanity's fascination with the unknown, its desire to understand what lies beyond the fleeting span of life. This pause serves as a bridge, a meditative space where we can absorb patterns, notice contrasts, and prepare for new encounters with death and the afterlife, this time in the lands of Europe, where myth, valor, and mystery intertwine in equally compelling ways. Across these civilizations, we find striking consistencies: the use of ritual to guide the soul, symbolic objects to protect or assist the dead, and narratives that explain the journey into realms beyond the living. Rivers, gates, guardians, and thresholds are recurring motifs, yet each culture imbues them with unique characteristics shaped by geography, belief, and history. The Americas introduced a vision of the afterlife as a journey filled with trials and dangers, contrasting with the serene continuity of China or the egalitarian gloom of Mesopotamia. This bridge allows us to consider the interplay of light and shadow, hope and fear, preparation and unpredictability, and to reflect on how each civilization's approach informs our understanding of mortality and imagination. In this reflective space, we also notice the universality of human concern for the departed. Across oceans and ages, offerings, tombs, and rituals serve as conduits between the living and the dead. These gestures are small but profoundly meaningful: a carefully placed object, an inscribed text, a ceremonial act, and they reveal the shared human desire to maintain connection, exert influence over the unknown, and honor those who have gone before. The bridge emphasizes this continuity, a reminder that despite vast differences in landscape and culture, the fundamental questions remain. How do we prepare for death? And how do we ensure that the journey beyond is safe, meaningful, and acknowledged? Equally important is the subtle acknowledgement of danger and unpredictability. While rituals and preparations offer guidance, no culture presents the afterlife as entirely controllable. The underworlds of Xibalba, Mictlan, Mesopotamia, and even the Egyptian Duat all emphasize the presence of trials, judgment, or uncertainty. This recognition of the unknown contributes to the haunting allure of history's afterlife beliefs, a reminder that death is a boundary that humanity has always approached with a combination of curiosity, reverence, and apprehension. The bridge section, therefore, becomes a space to contemplate not only what the dead experience, but also how the living grapple with the limits of knowledge and control. The journey across continents also highlights the relationship between the individual and the collective. In China, ancestral worship reinforced social cohesion, while in Mesoamerica, the soul's journey had consequences for the wider cosmos. The living were never passive observers. They were active participants in shaping the experience of death and its impact on the world. This insight prepares us to explore European traditions, where heroism, honor, and the valorization of the individual play a more pronounced role, yet remain intertwined with ritual and cosmology. The bridge emphasizes that each culture's beliefs are both responses to the universal human condition and reflections of their particular environment, history, and worldview. As we pause in this liminal space, the mind can wander gently, tracing the rivers, gates, and thresholds that have guided countless souls across time. We sense the continuity of human thought, the echoes of ritual and myth, and the persistent tension between the known and the unknown. This contemplative moment is both quiet and profound, allowing the imagination to absorb lessons from distant civilizations before stepping into the next landscape, where European myths of the afterlife introduce new dimensions of valor, reward, and shadowed realms. Ultimately, this bridge is a meditation on connectivity, reflection, and preparation. It underscores the shared humanity that spans continents and centuries, even as cultural expressions vary widely. By lingering here, between one world and the next, we cultivate curiosity, awareness, and a gentle reverence for the unseen. The stories of the dead and the living intertwine, forming patterns that illuminate the human desire to understand, navigate, and honor the mysteries that lie beyond life. With this quiet reflection, we are ready to enter the lands of Europe, where Norse and Celtic visions await, realms where courage, heroism, and shadowed adventures shape the journey of the soul, offering a new set of mysteries to explore. The whispers of the past, carried across oceans and ages, guide us onward, ensuring that our journey through history's most chilling and fascinating afterlife secrets remains immersive, contemplative, and profound. In the misty landscapes of ancient Europe, where dense forests meet jagged mountains and winds whisper through valleys, the afterlife takes on a vivid and dramatic quality. Among the Norse and Celtic peoples, death was not merely a quiet transition, but a journey fraught with peril, heroism, and cosmic significance. These civilizations envisioned worlds beyond life where courage, valor, and moral fortitude determined the soul's fate, blending awe, mystery, and subtle dread. Unlike the ordered eternity of Egypt or the trials of Mesoamerica, the European afterlife emphasizes the heroic passage, a realm in which the living and the dead remain closely connected through ritual, memory, and the enduring resonance of myth. For the Norse, the journey after death depended on the nature of life and death itself. Warriors who died in battle were believed to be chosen by Odin to enter Valhalla, the great hall of the slain, where they would feast, train, and prepare for Ragnarok, the apocalyptic battle at the end of the world. This afterlife is exhilarating yet somber, a place of honor, but also of constant readiness, where the shadow of ultimate destruction looms. Those who did not die heroically, however, might descend into hell, a shadowed realm governed by the goddess of the same name. Here, existence is more muted, a continuation in a realm of cold and shadow, illustrating the duality of reward and consequence, light and darkness. The funerary practices of the Norse reflect this duality. Burial mounds, sometimes elaborate and sometimes simple, were carefully constructed to honor the dead and provide a bridge to the afterlife. Ships, real or symbolic, were often included, carrying the deceased on their journey, accompanied by grave goods intended to sustain them beyond life. Weapons, tools, jewelry, and occasionally animals formed part of this sacred assemblage, each item a gesture of respect, a guide, and a safeguard. In the careful attention to placement and ceremony, we see the human desire to prepare for the unknown, to honor valor, and to ensure continuity, even in realms beyond immediate comprehension. Celtic beliefs, though distinct, echo similar themes of liminality and heroism. The otherworld, often called an Tir na Nog, was imagined as a place of both wonder and danger. It was inhabited by spirits, deities, and ancestors, a realm that existed parallel to the living world yet intersected with it through ritual, vision, and storytelling. Souls who entered this world were thought to experience transformations, to gain wisdom or power, or to confront trials that reflected the moral and spiritual dimensions of life on Earth. The Celtic underworld was less structured than Valhalla, more fluid and mysterious, a place of symbolic reflection where the living could maintain contact with the departed through offerings, seasonal festivals, and ceremonial acts. Symbolism in European afterlife practices is rich and multilayered. The use of swords, shields, and ceremonial items reflects not only practical preparation, but also an acknowledgement of the perils that await. Tomb carvings, standing stones, and burial mounds convey narratives of heroism, endurance, and cosmic significance. Animals, often buried alongside humans, may serve as guides, companions, or protective forces in the journey beyond. Even the natural landscape, the rivers, hills, and sacred groves, becomes an integral part of the afterlife, a bridge between the living and the dead, and a reflection of the interplay between the known and the unknown. The Norse and Celtic afterlife also emphasizes moral consequence, yet in a manner distinct from other civilizations. While the Egyptians measured the heart against Maat's feather and the Mesopotamians offered solemn acknowledgement of inevitability, the Europeans intertwined destiny with action, courage, and choice. A life of valor or virtue could lead to honor in Valhalla or guidance in the otherworld, while neglect, cowardice, or ignorance might result in shadowed obscurity. This focus on ethical and heroic dimensions highlights a society deeply engaged with the consequences of life, aware that actions reverberate beyond the grave. Ritual and memory were crucial in maintaining the bond between worlds. Seasonal festivals, offerings at burial sites, and oral traditions kept the deceased present in daily life, providing both guidance and warning. The living engaged with the dead, not as passive observers, but as active participants in an ongoing spiritual continuum. This engagement underscores the European understanding of death as a shared journey, one in which the human imagination, moral reflection, and reverence for the unknown coalesce into a compelling narrative. There is also a subtle, haunting beauty in the European imagination of death. Valhalla, with its feasting warriors, and with its otherworldly landscapes, capture the imagination with their vivid imagery, while simultaneously acknowledging the presence of danger, shadow, and uncertainty. The afterlife is neither entirely comforting nor wholly terrifying. It is a space where the human mind can explore extremes of courage, endurance, and moral responsibility. This tension between exhilaration and apprehension mirrors the natural cycles of life itself and continues to resonate with modern audiences seeking stories that are immersive, reflective, and gently chilling. The European vision of the afterlife, with its duality of light and shadow, valor and peril, is a testament to the human desire to understand mortality while embracing the unknown. Its myths, tombs, and rituals reveal a civilization attuned to the interplay between life death, and the forces that shape existence. In contemplating these traditions, we gain insight not only into the values and fears of the Norse and Celtic peoples, but also into the enduring human fascination with thresholds, journeys, and realms beyond our immediate perception. As we leave the forests, mountains, and burial mounds of Europe behind, the echoes of heroism, cosmic consequence, and shadowed mystery linger. These narratives prepare us to enter the final chapters of our exploration, where reflection, synthesis, and the lingering allure of the afterlife will draw together threads from all corners of the ancient world. The European realms, with their courage and mystery, remind us that across time and space, humans have consistently sought to illuminate what lies beyond life, to prepare, to honor, and to wonder in the quiet, immersive spaces where history and imagination converge. The technology of ancient Egypt continues to astonish modern scholars, as the Egyptians achieved remarkable feats of engineering, medicine, and craftsmanship with tools that were, by our standards, relatively primitive. This section delves into the many technological innovations that set Egypt apart from other ancient civilizations. It contrasts the visible achievements, such as the massive stone structures and intricate tombs, with the more mysterious aspects of Egyptian technology, particularly the knowledge that was likely lost or hidden. How did they manage to create perfectly aligned pyramids or build vast irrigation systems without modern machinery? How did their medical practices, some of which were surprisingly advanced, survive centuries before being rediscovered by modern science? This section emphasizes the paradox between what we know about Egyptian technology and the gaps in our understanding, sparking curiosity about what secrets might still lie buried in the sands of time. The Egyptians were pioneers in the use of materials, and their understanding of geometry, astronomy, and mathematics was far ahead of many other ancient cultures. The precision with which they constructed the Great Pyramids of Giza, for instance, challenges our modern understanding of ancient engineering. The pyramid's near-perfect alignment with the cardinal directions suggests a profound knowledge of astronomy. How did they achieve such accuracy without the tools we take for granted today? Historians and engineers alike have speculated that the Egyptians must have had a highly sophisticated system for measuring and aligning their monuments, yet no definitive evidence of such tools has ever been found. Was their technology lost over time, or did they possess knowledge that is yet to be uncovered? Similarly, the Egyptians' use of materials such as copper and stone was advanced for its time. They crafted tools, jewelry, and weapons with a precision that modern artisans still admire. Yet, there are peculiar instances in which the Egyptians seem to have achieved an almost magical level of craftsmanship. Some ancient artifacts, such as the famous Dendera light reliefs, have led to speculation about their use of advanced technology, possibly even electricity, thousands of years before it was discovered in the modern era. Could the Egyptians have had knowledge of electric power, or was it all just a misunderstanding of ancient symbols and depictions? The ambiguity surrounding these artifacts only deepens the mystery of their technological expertise. Medical knowledge is another area where the Egyptians surpassed many other ancient cultures. The Egyptians practiced complex surgeries, including brain surgery and dentistry, and their understanding of anatomy was remarkably advanced. In fact, some of their medical procedures, such as the use of moldy bread to treat infections, are thought to have been ahead of their time, anticipating concepts that would not be formally discovered until centuries later. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, an ancient medical text, is full of detailed information on injuries, surgeries, and other health issues. But how did the Egyptians gain such knowledge, and what other medical secrets have been lost with time? Could some of their remedies and cures have been far more effective than we realize? And what caused the decline in their medical advancements? The Egyptians also possessed advanced knowledge of engineering and construction, which is perhaps most evident in their monumental architecture. The Great Pyramid of Giza, with its precise measurements and astronomical alignment, continues to fascinate modern scientists and architects. Despite numerous theories about how the pyramids were built, including ramps, levers, and cranes, none have conclusively explained how the Egyptians managed such feats without the modern technology we would use today. The sheer scale of the project and the precision involved suggest that the Egyptians may have used techniques that have since been lost to history, or perhaps they had access to technology we simply do not understand. One of the most compelling and mysterious aspects of Egyptian technology, however, lies in their use of lost or secret knowledge. Many ancient texts, including the pyramid texts and coffin texts, hint at technologies that were never fully disclosed to the public or passed down to future generations. Some believe that the Egyptians had access to knowledge that was kept hidden by the priesthood for sacred or esoteric reasons. Could this secret knowledge explain the almost mythical feats they achieved? Did they, for instance, possess a unique understanding of energy or magnetism that allowed them to move massive stones or perform tasks that seem almost impossible by today's standards? What technologies have been lost or deliberately erased from history? And could they hold the key to unlocking some of the mysteries of the ancient world? Lastly, we examine the possibility that the Egyptians' advancements were not just a product of their own ingenuity, but perhaps influenced by external forces, whether through trade, contact with other civilizations, or even the theory that they may have been recipients of knowledge from the legendary civilization of Atlantis. Though there is no definitive proof, this theory suggests that the Egyptians may have inherited certain technologies or wisdom from a more advanced, lost civilization. The existence of such a civilization, with its own profound understanding of science, energy, and construction, could explain the remarkable leaps in Egyptian technology that seem too advanced for their time. In conclusion, the technological secrets of ancient Egypt remain one of the most tantalizing mysteries of our history. While we can marvel at the precision of the pyramids, the sophistication of their medical practices, and the skill with which they crafted everyday tools and monumental structures, there are still vast gaps in our understanding of how they achieved these feats. Some believe that the Egyptians possessed lost knowledge, while others suggest that their technology was far more advanced than we are capable of comprehending. The search for these lost technologies continues, with each new discovery adding a new layer to the mystery of how the ancient Egyptians were able to shape such an awe-inspiring civilization. The idea of Atlantis, a legendary civilization said to possess incredible knowledge and power, has intrigued philosophers, historians, and mystics for thousands of years. In this section, we explore the fascinating theory that ancient Egypt may have been influenced by or even descended from Atlantis. Drawing on the writings of ancient scholars, including the philosopher Plato, we examine how the story of Atlantis has intersected with Egypt's ancient legacy. The contrast between what is historically documented about Egypt and the speculative nature of Atlantis create a sense of mystery and wonder, inviting viewers to consider whether some of Egypt's most impressive achievements could be the result of knowledge handed down from this lost civilization. This section teases the possibility that some of the most profound secrets of ancient Egypt were not entirely their own, but may have originated from a forgotten, advanced civilization lost to the sands of time. Plato, the famous Greek philosopher, first introduced the tale of Atlantis in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias. According to Plato, Atlantis was a mighty island civilization that existed about 9,000 years before his own time, situated beyond the Pillars of Hercules, modern-day Strait of Gibraltar. Atlantis was a powerful and technologically advanced civilization, said to be blessed by the gods. However, the island's pride and decadence led to its downfall. It was swallowed up by the ocean, lost to history. While many consider the story a myth, it has captured the imagination of generations, prompting numerous theories about what Atlantis might have been and where it might have existed. The most compelling of these theories links Atlantis with ancient Egypt, suggesting that the knowledge of the Egyptians might have been influenced or even passed down from the people of Atlantis. The connection between Egypt and Atlantis begins with the similarity in their monumental achievements. Both civilizations are known for their grand architectural structures, Egypt with its awe-inspiring pyramids, and Atlantis, according to Plato, with its grand city, which was said to be adorned with beautiful temples, canals, and advanced technology. The scale of these projects and their advanced engineering suggests that both cultures may have shared a deep understanding of geometry, astronomy, and construction techniques that were far beyond what was available to other ancient civilizations. Could the Egyptians have inherited some of their advanced knowledge from the lost civilization of Atlantis? This theory posits that the ancient Egyptians were not the sole originators of the monumental ideas and technologies that we associate with their civilization, but were instead the inheritors of a far older and more advanced culture. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Atlantis-Egypt connection comes from the idea that the Egyptian priesthood had access to ancient, esoteric knowledge passed down from Atlantis. In Plato's accounts, the Atlanteans were highly spiritual, with advanced technologies and wisdom that helped them build their impressive cities and temples. After the fall of Atlantis, this knowledge was preserved and passed on to the Egyptians. Some scholars believe that the Egyptians may have been the inheritors of this knowledge, which allowed them to build the pyramids, create their advanced medical practices, and master engineering techniques that were otherwise unheard of in their time. Plato himself even hints at the idea that Egypt was a place of refuge for the survivors of Atlantis, further fueling speculation that Egyptian culture was, in some way, a continuation of Atlantean knowledge and wisdom. Another compelling aspect of this theory comes from the similarities between the religious and philosophical systems of the two civilizations. Both cultures had complex pantheons of gods, and their religious practices were deeply intertwined with astronomy and the cycles of nature. The Egyptians worshipped gods like Ra, Osiris, and Anubis, who were associated with the sun, the afterlife, and the cosmos. In Atlantis, according to Plato, the people worshipped Poseidon and other deities tied to natural forces and the elements. The spiritual focus of both civilizations, along with their astronomical knowledge, suggests that they may have shared common philosophical and religious principles, potentially passed down from a common source. Could the similarities in their belief systems be evidence of a shared origin, possibly from Atlantis? Furthermore, some researchers have pointed to the geographic similarities between the location of Atlantis as described by Plato and the geography of ancient Egypt. In Plato's account, Atlantis was a large island with fertile lands, canals, and temples. Some have suggested that this description bears a striking resemblance to the Nile Delta in Egypt, with its fertile land and complex network of waterways. Could the geography of Egypt have been influenced by the remnants of Atlantis, or was the location of Atlantis itself a reflection of the same land that would later become Egypt? While this theory remains speculative, it adds another layer of intrigue to the idea that Egypt may have inherited or absorbed elements from the lost civilization of Atlantis. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Atlantis-Egypt connection is the idea that the Egyptians might have been part of a much larger, ancient civilization that stretched across the globe. Some alternative theories suggest that Atlantis was not a single island, but rather a vast, advanced global civilization that left its mark on many different cultures, including those in the Americas, the Mediterranean, and Africa. If this were true, it would mean that Egypt was not an isolated culture, but part of a much larger network of ancient societies that share knowledge and technology. This would explain why the Egyptians were able to achieve such incredible feats with relatively primitive tools, and why their achievements continue to defy modern understanding. Despite the tantalizing connections between Atlantis and Egypt, it is important to recognize that much of this theory is based on speculation and interpretation rather than concrete evidence. The story of Atlantis may very well be a myth, a cautionary tale about hubris and the dangers of technological advancement. However, the similarities between the achievements of ancient Egypt and the legendary Atlantis continue to captivate the imagination of those who believe that Egypt's rise to greatness was not solely the result of indigenous innovation, but perhaps a gift or a legacy from a lost and ancient civilization. The idea that Atlantis may have influenced Egypt adds an additional layer of mystery to one of the world's greatest civilizations, raising questions about the true origins of the remarkable achievements that still fascinate us today. In conclusion, The theory that ancient Egypt could be the heir to Atlantis is a captivating one that merges history, mythology, and the unknown. While definitive evidence for this connection remains elusive, the parallels between the two civilizations are striking, and the possibility that Egypt inherited knowledge from a lost civilization is an intriguing concept that continues to fuel debate and inspire wonder. Whether or not Atlantis ever existed, the idea that Egypt's achievements may have been influenced by a much older, advanced culture serves as a reminder of how much we have yet to understand about our ancient past. In this section, we reflect on the continuing influence of ancient Egypt in the modern world, an influence that is both subtle and profound. From the symbolic power of Egyptian art and architecture to the impact on modern architecture, religion, and even popular culture, Egypt's legacy endures in ways both overt and hidden. We examine how Egypt's grand monuments, like the pyramids and the Sphinx, continue to inspire awe and fascination across the globe. At the same time, we explore how ancient Egyptian symbols, philosophies, and religious ideas have permeated modern thought, sometimes in unexpected ways. This section invites viewers to consider how the ancient world, specifically Egypt, continues to shape the present, bridging the gap between past and present with its enduring mysteries and timeless appeal. Egypt's profound influence on modern architecture is immediately evident. The obelisk, a tall four-sided pillar with a pyramidal tip, has become one of the most enduring symbols of Egypt's architectural legacy. Throughout the world, obelisks have been erected in places like Washington, D.C., London, Paris, and Rome, some thousands of miles away from Egypt's ancient heartland. The Washington Monument, for instance, is an obelisk that was inspired by these ancient Egyptian structures, representing not just the architectural achievements of Egypt, but also the symbolism of power and eternal life that the obelisk held for the Egyptians. The very idea of monumental architecture, structures built to stand the test of time, has its roots in Egypt. The pyramids themselves, towering testaments to both engineering and faith, continue to capture the human imagination, even in the modern era. Their legacy is not only architectural, but also deeply spiritual, symbolizing endurance, mystery, and the human quest for immortality. Beyond architecture, Egypt's influence can also be seen in modern religious and esoteric traditions. Ancient Egyptian deities, such as Osiris, Isis, and Horus, have transcended their origins in the Nile Valley, appearing in modern spiritual practices, occultism, and even Christianity. The myth of Osiris, for example, which centers around death, resurrection, and the afterlife, bears striking similarities to the Christian narrative of Jesus Christ. Some scholars argue that these ancient Egyptian stories influenced the formation of later religious traditions. The Egyptian practice of mummification, as well as their elaborate burial rituals, continues to fascinate and influence modern ideas about death and the afterlife. Many of these ideas have found their way into modern spiritual practices and philosophies, making Egypt's ancient beliefs relevant in the contemporary world. In addition to religious ideas, Egyptian symbolism has found its way into modern-day culture in various ways. One of the most notable examples is the use of the Eye of Horus, a symbol of protection, royal power, and good health. This symbol, often seen in jewelry and tattoos, has become ubiquitous in modern esoteric and New Age circles. The all-seeing eye is also featured on the back of the U.S. $1 bill, hinting at its continued relevance as a symbol of protection and divine authority. Whether in architecture, fashion, or spiritual movements, the pervasive use of Egyptian symbols today speaks to the lasting appeal of this ancient culture. The fascination with Egypt can also be seen in the popularity of Egyptian-themed movies, literature, and art, particularly in the 19th and 20th centuries, following the discovery of King Tutankhamun's tomb. The allure of Egypt's mysteries has inspired countless works of fiction and has permeated the global imagination, from the mummy films to books like The Egyptian by Mika Waltari. Egypt's legacy also extends to the world of science, particularly in the fields of astronomy and medicine. The ancient Egyptians were among the first to observe and document the movements of the stars and planets, and their intricate calendar system was based on these celestial movements. The alignment of the pyramids with the stars, particularly the star Sirius, suggests that the Egyptians had an advanced understanding of astronomy. While modern astronomy has moved far beyond the Egyptians' level of knowledge, their influence can still be seen in the symbolic relationship between the stars and the Earth that continues to inspire modern astronomical research. Similarly, the Egyptians' contributions to medicine, including their understanding of anatomy and surgery, paved the way for later medical advancements. While much of their knowledge was lost over time, many of their practices, such as the use of herbal remedies and surgical techniques, have found their way back into modern alternative medicine. Perhaps most strikingly, Egypt's ancient mysteries continue to captivate people in ways that few other civilizations can. The allure of the pyramids, the Sphinx, and the tombs of the pharaohs have led to an enduring fascination with Egypt that spans centuries. Every new discovery or theory about ancient Egypt seems to add fuel to the fire of public interest. This continuing obsession with Egypt, its monuments, its symbols, and its secrets, has led to an ever-growing industry of tourism, archaeology, and media. The ancient wonders of Egypt are among the most visited historical sites in the world, and millions travel to see the pyramids and the Sphinx each year, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mystery and magic that still surrounds this ancient civilization. Even in the digital age, the mystery of ancient Egypt endures, with documentaries, books, and articles continuing to probe the secrets of this fascinating culture. In a more esoteric sense, Egypt's enduring influence can also be felt in the world of mysticism and occultism. The Egyptians were seen as the keepers of hidden knowledge, with their priests and scribes preserving ancient wisdom that has fascinated modern seekers. From the Hermetic teachings to the rise of Freemasonry, which incorporated many elements of Egyptian symbolism and philosophy, Egypt's esoteric legacy has lived on in the mystical traditions of the West. The idea that the Egyptians held knowledge that was both divine and arcane has fueled the imaginations of countless occultists and spiritualists over the centuries. In conclusion, the legacy of ancient Egypt is not a thing of the past, but a living, breathing part of the modern world. From architecture to religion, medicine to mysticism, the influence of Egypt has left an indelible mark on human culture. The pyramids, the Sphinx, and the vast tombs of the pharaohs continue to inspire wonder and awe, reminding us that the mysteries of ancient Egypt are far from being solved. The enduring appeal of Egypt speaks to our collective fascination with the past and our desire to unlock the secrets that still lie hidden beneath the sands of time. As long as the pyramids stand and the Sphinx gazes out over the desert, Egypt's legacy will continue to shape the world in ways we have yet to fully understand. As we come to the final section of this journey through the wonders and mysteries of ancient Egypt, we are left with one overarching question. What secrets still lie buried beneath the sands of this ancient land? Despite centuries of exploration, excavation, and research, Egypt continues to hold secrets that challenge our understanding of history. This section explores the ongoing mysteries that remain unresolved, the lost tombs that still elude discovery, and the tantalizing clues that suggest there is far more to uncover than we can imagine. The contrast between the known and the unknown fuels our curiosity, leaving us to ponder how much of Egypt's true story has yet to be told, and whether we are on the brink of uncovering knowledge that will change the course of history. Perhaps the most compelling mystery of all is the fate of Egypt's greatest rulers and their tombs. We know the locations of many tombs, King Tutankhamun's tomb being the most famous discovery of the 20th century, but many of the pharaoh's final resting places remain hidden, even after centuries of searching. Despite the vast archaeological efforts to unearth Egypt's buried treasures, entire tombs, particularly those of the New Kingdom pharaohs, have remained elusive. The Valley of the Kings, where many of Egypt's greatest rulers were buried, has yielded numerous royal tombs, but some of the most powerful figures in Egyptian history are still unaccounted for. Some believe that these tombs were deliberately hidden or constructed to be untraceable, in order to protect the pharaoh's treasures from tomb robbers. Could there be entire tomb complexes lying undisturbed, waiting to be discovered? The thought that ancient rulers and their treasures still rest untouched beneath Egypt's arid landscape fuels speculation and intrigue, suggesting that much of Egypt's history remains locked in time. One of the most intriguing tombs yet to be found is that of Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of Egypt. The queen's death has been shrouded in mystery, and her tomb has never been definitively located, despite numerous expeditions. Theories abound about the possible locations of her final resting place, with some suggesting she could be buried alongside her lover, Julius Caesar, or in a secret tomb beneath the Egyptian Alexandria. What makes this mystery even more captivating is the legend surrounding her death and burial. Cleopatra's tomb, it is said, could hold treasures of unimaginable wealth, perhaps even the key to unlocking the long-lost knowledge of the ancient Egyptian royal family. Could Cleopatra's tomb be hidden beneath the shifting sands of Alexandria, waiting to reveal not only the queen's remains, but also a trove of secrets about Egypt's final days of glory? The discovery of Cleopatra's tomb would undoubtedly be one of the most significant archaeological finds in history, but it is not the only ancient tomb whose location remains elusive. The tomb of Alexander the Great, though not an Egyptian ruler, is closely tied to Egypt's history, particularly the city of Alexandria, which he founded. The legendary conqueror, who greatly admired Egypt's ancient culture, was said to have been buried there, but the location of his tomb has remained a mystery for centuries. Some believe it was deliberately hidden to prevent desecration, while others argue that it was lost to history after the city's destruction. The idea that the tomb of one of the world's most famous figures may still be buried in Egypt adds another layer of intrigue to the region's rich history. Beyond tombs, another enduring mystery involves the construction of Egypt's most iconic monuments, especially the Great Pyramid of Giza. While modern archaeologists have developed theories about how the pyramids were built, many questions remain unanswered. How are the massive stone blocks moved? How were the pyramids aligned so precisely with the cardinal directions? And perhaps the most fundamental question, why were these grand monuments built in the first place? Despite advances in archaeology and technology, the true methods used to construct the pyramids remain elusive. Some suggest that there may have been advanced techniques, possibly even lost technologies, that allowed the Egyptians to create these awe-inspiring structures with remarkable precision. Was there something about the construction of the pyramids that has been deliberately concealed over time, or have we simply not yet discovered the methods that were used? The Great Pyramid's enduring mystery, coupled with its connection to the stars and the afterlife, continues to captivate both historians and laypeople alike. Another mysterious aspect of Egypt's ancient past lies in the possible existence of undiscovered chambers or rooms within the Great Pyramid itself. Over the years, various scanning techniques have revealed anomalies within the pyramid structure, suggesting that there could be hidden chambers that have yet to be explored. Some believe that these chambers could contain valuable artifacts or sacred texts that would provide insights into the religious practices and beliefs of ancient Egypt. In fact, recent advancements in scanning technology, including cosmic ray imaging, have led to the discovery of unexplored areas within the pyramid, prompting a renewed sense of excitement and speculation among archaeologists and Egyptologists. Could these hidden chambers be the key to understanding the true purpose of the Great Pyramid, or do they hold other, even more profound secrets? The idea that the pyramid could still conceal mysteries waiting to be uncovered is a tantalizing one. In addition to tombs and monuments, there is also the matter of the lost texts of ancient Egypt. The Egyptians were prolific writers, and many of their religious and philosophical writings have survived in the form of papyri, stelae, and inscriptions on temple walls. Yet much of their literary and scientific knowledge is lost to time. The infamous Library of Alexandria, which housed countless scrolls and manuscripts containing knowledge from all over the ancient world, was destroyed in a series of fires, and with it, much of Egypt's ancient wisdom was lost. In this final section, we pause to reflect on the timeless allure of ancient Egypt, a civilization whose legacy continues to captivate the world's imagination, even thousands of years after its rise and fall. From the monumental structures that have withstood the test of time to the tantalizing mysteries that still surround its history, Egypt's influence persists in ways both seen and unseen. As we draw this journey to a close, we consider the ways in which Egypt's past resonates in our present lives and what it tells us about our own desires, our curiosity, and our eternal quest for knowledge. This section aims to leave viewers with a sense of wonder and contemplation about how the legacy of ancient Egypt still speaks to us, calling us to continue seeking answers to the mysteries it holds. Egypt, with its pyramids, sphinxes, and temples, is not just an ancient civilization frozen in time, but a living, breathing symbol of human aspiration. The scale of its accomplishments, both material and spiritual, has resonated across centuries. The enduring image of the Great Pyramid of Giza, standing tall against the backdrop of the desert sky, continues to evoke feelings of awe and reverence, even for those who have never set foot in Egypt. This single monument, which has existed for more than 4,500 years, remains a testament to human ingenuity, vision, and perseverance. Yet, it is not just the physical legacy of Egypt that captures our imagination. It is the mystery surrounding how such feats were achieved, the spiritual beliefs that inspired them, and the enigma of a civilization whose achievements seem almost impossible in the context of their time. What draws us to Egypt is not just its monuments, but the powerful sense of timelessness they convey. Ancient Egypt was a civilization that understood the concept of eternity, and its rulers, from the earliest pharaohs to the final dynasties, sought to transcend the limitations of time through their grand tombs and monuments. The Egyptians believed that their connection to the divine was eternal, and that their actions in this life would echo across the ages. This desire for immortality, the desire to leave a mark on the world that would survive beyond death, resonates deeply with us. In our own lives, we too seek meaning and significance, often through the things we create, the ideas we champion, or the legacies we hope to leave behind. In many ways, our fascination with Egypt reflects this shared desire, a desire to understand how we, too, can transcend time and make our mark on the world. At the heart of Egypt's allure is its sense of mystery. Despite all we have uncovered about this ancient culture, much remains hidden, waiting to be revealed. The unanswered questions about the pyramids, the hidden tombs of the pharaohs, and the elusive knowledge locked away in forgotten texts continue to fuel our curiosity. Each new discovery, whether it be a hidden chamber in the Great Pyramid, an unexplored tomb in the Valley of the Kings, or a newly uncovered artifact, adds to the intrigue, making Egypt feel as though it is an open book still waiting to be read. The mysteries of ancient Egypt are not just historical puzzles, but metaphysical questions that speak to the human need for understanding and connection. What lies beneath the surface of the past? What secrets do the ancients still hold, waiting to be uncovered? The symbolic power of Egypt is also present in its impact on the way we think about life, death, and the afterlife. The Egyptians' belief in an eternal existence, their elaborate burial rituals, and their intricate visions of the afterlife have deeply influenced religious and philosophical thought throughout history. Concepts of judgment after death, resurrection, and the soul's journey through the afterlife were not only central to Egyptian religion, but they reverberated throughout later religious traditions, including Christianity and Islam. In many ways, the Egyptians' ideas about the soul and the afterlife continue to shape our own understanding of life's ultimate questions. Their spiritual vision of the world as a place of balance, where the forces of order, Ma'at, govern all things, offers a model for how we might think about our own lives in relation to the larger cosmos. The search for knowledge, wisdom, and truth was at the heart of Egyptian culture. The ancient Egyptians were not only engineers, architects, and artists, but also philosophers and spiritual seekers. Their focus on harmony, balance, and understanding the universe through both science and spirituality remains an inspiration to those who seek wisdom today. Their advances in fields such as mathematics, medicine, and astronomy were groundbreaking for their time, and many of their ideas continue to influence modern science. For example, their understanding of geometry laid the foundations for the construction of the pyramids, and their knowledge of the stars and the heavens influenced the design of their temples. The desire to understand the world and one's place within it is a thread that runs through all human cultures, and it is no different with Egypt. The Egyptians were seekers of knowledge, and their legacy reminds us that our quest for understanding is an eternal pursuit, one that transcends time, culture, and language. As we reflect on Egypt's legacy, we also recognize that its story is not merely one of grandeur and glory, but also of mystery, decline, and rebirth. The ancient Egyptians believed that death was not an end, but a transition to a new phase of existence, and they constructed their tombs and pyramids with this belief in mind. In many ways, the rise and fall of Egypt mirrors the cycles of life itself. Moments of peak achievement followed by periods of decline, loss, and rediscovery. The story of Egypt reminds us that civilizations, like individuals, go through cycles of birth, growth, decay, and rebirth. While Egypt as an empire may have disappeared from the political stage, its cultural and spiritual legacy continues to be reborn in new ways through our continuing exploration of its monuments, texts, and mysteries. In the world of modern-day Egyptology, there is a renewed sense of excitement and possibility as new technologies and methodologies allow for more in-depth exploration of ancient sites. Advances in satellite imagery, non-invasive scanning techniques, and 3D modeling have given archaeologists and historians new tools to explore Egypt's ancient treasures without disturbing the sites themselves. The future of Egyptology holds tremendous promise, with the potential for groundbreaking discoveries that may shed light on previously hidden aspects of Egyptian civilization. Every new piece of knowledge about Egypt deepens the connection we feel to this ancient culture, reinforcing the idea that Egypt is not just a part of history, but an ongoing story, one that continues to unfold and enrich our understanding of the world. Ultimately, the allure of ancient Egypt lies not only in what we have uncovered, but in what remains hidden, those tantalizing glimpses into a world long gone, but not forgotten. Egypt represents the very essence of human curiosity, ambition, and the desire to connect with something greater than ourselves.